Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Very good evening.
It's Sunday, the 18th of November 2012. Good evening. Bit of a rainy, miserable day out, isn't it? The weather's been pretty bad.
It's bucketing down outside. Don't know what it's like where you are, but it's absolutely bucketing down. Torrential where we are. We actually seen a guy down the road building an ark. I think he said his name was Noah.
Noah. Doesn't surprise me. Now, you might find our audio might be a little bit different tonight. We had a bit of a mixing desk malfunction earlier on. So, in a kind of blind panic, we had to whip out another backup desk and stick it in. So, you might find our audio a little bit different. But we'll go with the flow anyway. So, before we... Oh, well, it's just somebody said on the chat room already. Any guests on this week? Well, tonight what we're going to have is a pre-record we did with Pastor Lindsey Williams just a couple of weeks ago.
Stay with us. Don't run away now.
Stay with us. But he's given us an update on things that are going on that he found out from the elites that he speaks to. So that's going to be of interest if you're interested in that side. But for now, what we'll do is go over the communication channels, Steve, and take it from there.
Absolutely. Be delighted to. Communication channels are as follow: info@oymireland.com for your emails and your intro, anything you want to say to us during the show or after the show. We also have the guest book on the website as well, where you can leave a message. We also have the chat facility, if you want to log in there, oymireland.com/OYM chat. A few people in the chat room already say a big hi to all of you, and it seems we're coming in loud and clear. That's good to know. And we also have, if you want to give us a phone call on the landline, you can...
Give us a call on 046 927 1212.
046 927 1212. If you're ringing in from outside the Republic of Ireland, the 00353 in front of that. Alan.
Now, before we go any further, it's the birthday boy, which we have to announce. So, we have something.
Hang on a second. Are you done?
Okay.
I can scratch as well.
You can scratch as well.
There you go. Yeah. Who else is celebrating the birthday?
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
It wasn't. No, we're both born in the same month. Both November's child or November babies, whatever. Yeah.
Steve had a lot on at the time, so I'll forgive him for not mentioning it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Alan's birthday and mine, so send all your gifts on a postcard.
Unmarked envelope. Okay, so let's crack on. Right, we're just saying to let people know there that we have a pre-record of Pastor Lindsey Williams that we did a couple of weeks ago, just giving us an update on what's going on. That's what we're going to have tonight. So before that, let's go through a few things. So the first one on the list will be, obviously, the bumper sticker campaign is back. We did mention this before that we have a couple of donations now in for the bumper stickers because we want to make this a nationwide campaign. So if there's anything that you can do, any way you can help us, by all means, give us a shout. Send in a donation. Everything helps. Pop over to the bumper sticker campaign webpage and have a look at the details there. And if you can help, that'd be fantastic. If money is tight, obviously you can click on the adverts on the website if you see anything that takes your fancy, and that will a few cents that we get will come over to us. Steve, part two
of
unscripted script.
Okay, part two, number two. We the people and TNS Radio, we only do solutions, as we mentioned last week. That's a free workshop that We the People and TNS Radio are running. It's on Thursday, November 22nd of this year, 2012, as Vim would say, allegedly. And that's from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. PST. We're still doing that joke, are we? The PST joke?
No.
Right, 7 to 11.
I should remove that, really.
You should actually. Yeah. 7 to 11 GMT on Thursday evening, November 22nd, 2012. That's the We the People and the TNS Radio. We only do solutions. Free workshop. Did we mention it was free? So therefore, you can. I mean, if you've nothing to do on that evening, pop along for an hour. Pop along for. I think it's 4 hours. Meet the lads and see what it's all about. No doubt it would be very, very interesting.
That will be very interesting. And the other thing that's on the list will be, obviously, well, during the week, we had Direct Democracy Ireland launched officially on Wednesday in Buswell's Hotel in Dublin, which is fantastic. We now have an alternative political service. I know they're a political party, but they'd rather call themselves a political service, with Ben Gilroy and crew. The video is going around, doing the rounds at the moment on Facebook. So you can actually have a look at that, and you'll see the announcements they made and the information they put out there. And it's quite interesting. It's just brilliant now that we actually have a choice. Instead of the four parties of Labour, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin, we have another party, a party for the people. So we want everybody to promote the party and let people know. We're not saying, people will make up their own choice, obviously. But at the end of the day, just let them know there's another party out there for the people. And let them choose if they want to look into it and do something about it. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we actually seen the video. Well, I know there's a couple of videos floating about. Well, in one particular video, it was done by our good friend Terry. Terry is from Wexford, and he interviewed Ben Gilroy, and just got a little bit of feedback. And we just got information up there on the chat facility as well from Firebrand that Ben Gilroy said thanks to the boys at OYM during his talk. I wasn't actually aware of that. That must be on a different video. I'll have to look out for that. But yeah, well, I mean, fair play to Ben and the whole team. I mean, Ben is on board now. He's kind of leading the party, if you like, at DDI, Direct Democracy Ireland. He didn't actually form the group or the party or the service, but they are now, as we found out, they're actually class. They have enough, people behind them to actually be recognised, excuse me, as a party. Unfortunately, the only downside, as far as I'm concerned, is, as far as I'm aware, it's 2014 before there's a general election. Now, I don't know if, in the meantime, before that comes to pass, what other, pieces of legislation this government that are in power at the moment are going to pass. However, I don't know. I mean, unless you know, Alan, is there anything that maybe DDI might know? Is there anything that the people can do at this stage if they're unhappy with the current government? I mean, can we, if we had, let's say, X amount of people, demanding a general election, would we get it?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we're going to have to do is aim for 2014 and get as much promotion as we can of the DDI party out there. Now, as Ben said, and I totally understand, he says he's not saying that that's the solution. If there's anything better, any other way that's better, by all means let them know. But this is it's the only party now that's really for the people. In all honesty, it's the only party out there. So I'd rather go for that party rather than any other party, because even if you don't vote, they'll end up getting in some way. So, and we just have to be careful. You know what the government is like when it comes to rigging certain voting and referendums.
Well, we're not saying allegedly, that they do or they did.
Allegedly.
But I'm sure if anyone could do it, I'm sure our government could.
I'm sure they have, allegedly. But, so we just put that in. So it's just a chance, as Ben said, if you're on the Titanic and a ship pulls up and says, look, there's a chance that you can survive. Jump on airship. There's no guarantee we'll get you home, but at least you have a chance of surviving. Well, then you jump on the ship. You don't start rearranging the deck chairs. So at the end of the day, we just need people to go out and promote direct democracy and educate them. Just tell them what it is, and then let them make up their own mind. But we need to do this. We need to DDI to be in shape for 2014 for the elections. So they have a chance at least getting some people in to the Dáil to start arguing the point.
Now, as we always say, as regards political parties and that kind of thing, we generally sit on the fence and we don't promote one political party over another. We're still we are still sitting on the fence. However, I think we have known Ben, we've spoken to Ben, we've seen the good that Ben is doing. And from speaking with the man, that's his motivation. His motivation is to do good. His motivation is for the people. And as he said himself in one of the interviews, don't trust him. Don't trust anybody. Go do your own research. And as Alan said, when the Titanic was heading for an iceberg, the good ship DDI pulled up, and he says, well, you can stay on that ship, but you can jump on our ship as well and see what happens. And I think I think there was one of the events, the Solve Independent events in Dublin there. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember, because I know there was a couple. And we did meet some of the lads down there from DDI, and we seen kind of what they were about, what they wanted for the country, and it's for the good of the country. At the end of the day, our current government, we can already see that they're steering the country. If the country was a ship, they're steering it in the wrong direction, and they're steering it in that direction for their own personal gain and not for the will or the want of the people. So if DDI is just another ship, at the moment, as Alan said, we have 4 parties here in Ireland, one of which has never really been in government, and that's Sinn Féin. Then we have Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Labour, and there was something on Facebook there recently where there was a picture of a wheel, and they were just saying every 4 years in this country they just change the rat in the wheel, but it's the same rats all the time. So why not give DDI? What harm would it do to actually give them a shot and see what they can do? Give them
a chance.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. How's your week, Steve?
A busy week for a couple of different reasons. Mostly nothing to do with OYM or troop movement at all. Been kind of busy there with family matters. There's a couple of things going on that were kind of taking up my time during the week. But what else have I done during the week? It's just been, basically any of the links that Alan was sending out, kind of going through them, and it wasn't a very exciting week, to be completely honest. It was a busy, hectic week. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That was your week.
Get busy. Just a couple of things to mention. And there was something in the papers about the banks in Spain retreating on the mortgages. There's going to be a 2-year break, apparently. They're going to stop evicting people for a 2-year period. It's gone around Facebook. I don't know how true it is, but it's in the news as well, apparently. So that's quite interesting. I don't think our banks would actually get the hint themselves, but it'd be nice if that actually happened over here as well, because I can just see things getting worse over time. And the next thing is basically we were asked to do an interview for a radio station, Mick, at Liffey Sound FM. Hello, Mick, if you're listening in. Thanks for Mick for inviting us down. Unfortunately, Steve couldn't make it down, so I went down to the studio where Mick is, and we did an hour-long interview. And if you want to listen to the interview, the actual podcast is available on the OYM website. If you go into OYM interviews, it'll be down there in the list. You can listen to it or download the podcast. And myself and Mick had a good old banter, and we talked about everything. And it's amazing, as you say, about relativity. Time flies by when you're having fun. We had an hour interview, and it felt like 10 minutes because we were talking about so much information. It's unreal. So thanks again, Mick, for that. Having us down there, and we'll obviously return the favour. We'll get you up here to our studio in the bunker on Walton's Mountain, and we'll get you on. We'll have a chat there. So, but it was a good interview, good chat, brilliant stuff.
And if we can just mention very quickly as well, if you're in and around Dublin, especially around the Lucan area, and you're interested in listening to Mick's show, and I say Mick is a regular listener here to our show, and if you're interested, they do a podcast. They do a live stream. Well, Mick's show will be streamed live anyway every Monday evening on Liffey Sound. That's 96.4 on your FM dial, and if you're in and around the Lucan area, you should be able to pick that up. I'd say it's a good old show from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. and do check it out. And if you're not in Lucan, as I say, you can also get it live on the internet as well from Liffey Sound Is it liffeysound.fm or liffeysoundfm.ie?
liffeysoundfm.ie, I think is the website there. Okay, without further ado, we're going to bring in an interview, a pre-record we did with Pastor Lindsey Williams. Obviously, him being a pastor, we couldn't do a live record because Sundays he's very busy being a pastor. So we had to do a pre-record. But some good information that Lindsay's talking about. So we'll leave you with this and we'll catch you on the far side. Okay, we'd just like to introduce Pastor Lindsey Williams. Good evening, Pastor. How are you doing?
Alan and Steve, thank you so very much for allowing me the privilege of being on your show today. especially at a time when so many catastrophic events are taking place in the world.
We totally agree with you there. We're getting loads of information about what's going on all globally, and obviously a lot of information from the States as well, what's going on there. So we appreciate you getting in touch with us and coming on the show to tell us what's going on, because it's very important that we let people know what's going on. Now, you've been on the show a few times, and the information that you've given us has been fantastic. And what you have said has come true, and we do use that as reference on our show. That information that you've given us like a year and a half ago, what you've said has come true. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, very good evening, Pastor Williams. Steve here as well. I just want to echo exactly what Alan has said. It's an honour and a privilege to have you back on Open Your Mind Internet Radio once again, and a lot of people have given a lot of dates and a lot of information, but as Alan said, we do tend to use your information as a kind of a reference point, because pretty much everything that the information you gave us last year has actually come to pass. So you're on the money.
Definitely.
Well, you always have new listeners out there, and I'm sure that there are many that are brand new to this program today. So just briefly, so that they will be able to understand why the information I give is so unique and different than anything that they will hear in any financial newsletter, different than anything they will see on the liberal media or on television or here on radio. And the reason is being because the information I have comes directly from the people who are doing it. And basically, many years ago, I had, by the providence of God, the opportunity to be invited to be the chaplain to the elite of the world. This was back a number of years ago when they were building the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. And I actually sat across the dinner table from, sat in the board meetings with, by invitation, those that you hear about in the World Bank, the IMF, the top oil company officials of the world. And I made friends with some of those people. I've kept in touch with them over the years. And believe me, the experience I had of literally living with the elite of the world for 3 years' time changed my life, because I came to realize that there positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. All the decisions are made behind closed doors. They know well in advance everything that's going to happen. They control nations, they control currencies, they control oil prices, and these people do literally exist. And the reason I know they do is because I lived with them. Now, that was 35 years ago. These now are retired. They are in their 70s and 80s, yet they still know what's going on and what's going to happen. They oftentimes will call me on the phone and say, Chaplain Williams, this is going to take place. This is what has just been planned behind closed doors. This is what you can expect. So, everyone out there in the listening audience today with Alan and Steve, let me assure you, what you are about to hear will be uniquely different than anything you'll hear from any other source, because I'm going to tell you exactly what the elite have told me just recently that will be affecting your life, will determine your dinner table, and I'm going to let you know what is going to be happening financially, because they have already told me it's in the wind, and you will see it take place. So I urge you to please get a pencil, a piece of paper. Please take notes. As Alan said just a moment ago, the programs I've had the privilege of doing with Alan and Steve in the past, they've taken down the notes on what I said, and they have watched it happen. But it's not because Lindsay Williams says it. It's because the elite who have planned it have told me. And I feel so honored that by the providence of God, I would have been allowed to sit with these people years ago, because there is no way that a insignificant, unknown pastor or missionary, where I was at the time, could have ever sat with the elite of the world for 3 years, except by the providence of God. So what you're going to hear today, I consider it to be the providence of God likewise, that I can help you know in advance what is going to happen, what is happening right now, and in turn You can make preparations. What I'm going to say, please don't let it frighten you. By all means, don't lose any sleep over this. If preparation is made correctly, according to what the elite have told me, then you can spare yourself much heartache. So this program today will literally be a program of preparation. You're preparing personally for the inevitable. And when you do, you can be like many people were back in 1929 through 1933, at the time that the world experienced a Great Depression. There were some people during that time that actually made great fortunes. Not everyone stood in a soup line in New York and Chicago and San Francisco or some other country of the world. Many people made great fortunes back in those days of the Great Depression in 1929 because they knew in advance what was going to happen, took proper precautions, and went through that Great Depression without it harming their family and their life. So, you've had time to get those pencils and paper, and you've been forewarned that you need to take notes. I will give names, dates, and places. You're going to find this very interesting and informative. So, let me begin with what has happened just within the past week. And some of these statements you're going to find very unique. The most significant day in the history of the American dollar since its inception took place on Thursday, September the 6th. Now, this is quite a statement. And at any point you wish, by the way, Alan and Steve, please feel free to break in and ask questions if you feel that there's some other things I need to add to what I'm saying that will help the audience understand, because today you're going to hear things that will literally determine food being on your table in coming days.
Okay. Well, what we need to obviously focus on as well is we do go out nationally, obviously, and globally. But obviously our concern more so would be Ireland and Europe. But by all means, talk about America as well, because if it happens in America, we'll feel it over here.
What is happening to the American dollar will directly reflect in what happens to the euro. So what happened on that day of Thursday, September the 6th, will likewise affect the outcome of the date of the worldwide financial collapse. It is going to take place. It's not a matter of whether there's going to be a collapse of the paper currencies of the world or not. It's only a matter of what date, when will it take place. And the euro will be affected in direct proportion to the effect on the American dollar. In fact, what you're about to hear, if anything, will be to the advantage of the euro, not to the disadvantage. That significant date of Thursday, September the 6th, it was the date of the Democratic Convention, and it should have been headlines in every newscast in the world. But instead, on that date, nobody knew anything about it. It was completely overshadowed by the Democratic Convention, which was taking place at the time. And let me try to explain just a little background so that whenever I make a statement about what happened on dates, you'll understand. I was told many years ago by my elite friend that crude oil is the standard currency of the world. Now, let me elaborate briefly. The standard currency of the world is not the pound, nor the yen. The standard currency of the world is not the dollar. Crude oil is the standard currency of the world. And whatever currency crude oil is bought and sold in is the reserve currency of the world, and it is also the petrodollar. And any time that transfer and sale of crude oil changes to another currency, it directly affects all of the currencies of the world. Now, since the time that crude oil has been the one moving force in all of our modern-day society, everything runs on it. Your jet aircraft run on it. Your automobile runs on it. You generate electricity with it. Your home probably has many crude oil factors. Your groceries are delivered by way of train or truck, and it comes directly as a result of crude oil being in their tanks. Crude oil literally is the moving force in our modern-day society and has been for many, many years. Now, the crude oil, it being the standard currency of the world, literally trillions of dollars weekly are transferred because of the sale of crude oil from the oil-producing countries of the world. Now, what happened on Thursday, September the 6th was China. Now, China's been contemplating this for a long time. They had to set up all of the infrastructure necessary in order to do this because nobody but the United States of America has ever used that currency for the sale and trade of crude oil. And on Thursday, September the 6th, just a few days ago, China said, we're ready. Any country in the world now that wishes to can use our currency for the sale and trade of crude oil. You do not need to use the United States dollar any longer.
Okay.
Can you even in the slightest comprehend the ramifications of this in what's going to happen to all of the currencies of the world because of this and the nations that are using crude oil, which is the big force in our modern-day society? Then, Friday, the following day, September the 7th, Russia. Now, keep in mind, Russia, as of last year, became the number one supplier of crude oil on the face of the earth, surpassing Saudi Arabia, who has always been the number one supplier of crude oil as long as crude oil has been used. And last year, Russia surpassed them in the production of crude oil because of their super deep oil wells that they drilled back in the 70s called Kola SG3, and they found abiotic oil, and Russia now is the number one producer in the world. And Russia, the following day after China made their announcement, Russia made the announcement that Russia will now supply to China all of the crude oil that they want. Any amount, matters not. There's no limit. Russia will be glad to supply to China all of the crude oil that they possibly want to run their great Chinese machine, and they will not use the American dollar for the sale and trade of that oil. Folks, everybody in the world that's listening to Alan and Steve today, I hope you're aware of the fact that the most catastrophic, significant day that has ever taken place in relation to the American dollar, as well as your currency in your country, whatever it may be, is going to be affected by what took place on those days with those decisions, because as of right now, as of this date, and this is a big statement, you're going to see it happen, mark it down, as of that date, the American dollar died. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so big. The American dollar, who has been the reserve currency of the world for all of your lifetime and mine, as of September the 6th and September the 7th, it died. Now, Alan, you were about to say something there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the two countries that you mentioned there are part of the BRICS coalition. So it's basically Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So it doesn't surprise me, I mean, for them to turn around and to announce it, but I think this has been in the pipeline somewhere down the line. We have heard news about the BRICS countries actually not kowtowing to the NATO and the United Nations and wanting to do their own thing. And this kind of confirms what you've just said, what they were planning to do.
Basically, the world is not going to need the American dollar anymore.
That's right.
Now, for my country, the United States of America, this is shattering. We are going to see the most unusual events take place from this point on because of this that you can possibly imagine of. So let me get into some of these.
Okay.
Now, the very next day, Saturday, September the 8th, my elitist friend sent me an email. It was so startling to me until I'm still sitting here wondering if I really saw what I saw. Now, keep in mind, these elite, they're now in their 70s and 80s. These people know everything that's happening. They will oftentimes tell me things. And whenever they do, I try to tell it to the entire world. They oftentimes tell me things because I think more out of respect for the fact that I gave 3 years of my life to be their chaplain. I think they look at me kind of like a mascot and say, maybe we can help spare his household some heartache if we tell him these things. And they know that I go on radio shows and tell these things because I have a heart for the world, and I care about you, every person that's listening to the Alan and Steve show. I care about you. I care about your dinner table. I care about your children, your wife, your family. And as a result, I feel a moral obligation to tell you what the elite tell me that you will never hear on the national media. And that's exactly what you're hearing today. You're hearing it for the first time on the Alan and Steve show in your country. Well, what happened the following day? My elitist friend contacted me and basically confirmed exactly what I had suspected, that as of that date, the whole world changed, literally. Do you realize the ramifications of this? So let me try to explain them. First of all, as of this point, as of that date, literally trillions, not just billions, but literally trillions of American dollars are not going to be needed in the world's economy anymore. I hope you're catching this.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to happen to them? These trillions of dollars will now be unused and unwanted, and I'm going to give you a time frame. Please write this down. Put it beside your calendar. It is going to affect your grocery store, your prices, in your country, wherever you are in the world. This is going to affect all of Europe as well as America, because now you've got a whole new world out there of finance for the very first time ever. I mean, literally ever. And right now, you're going to see these trillions of American dollars that are unused, unwanted, floating around in the world, and I'm going to give you a time frame. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 months, these dollars are going to return back to the United States of America unused and unwanted, and our Federal Reserve cannot handle it. There is no way that our economy in America can survive this. The dollar is dead. Now, some of you will remember, and I think I said it last time I was on your show, Alan and Steve. I'm not quite sure, but I believe you'll find it in your archives, that I stated that my elite friend told me back about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, he said, Chaplain, by the end of 2012, the dollar will be dead.
That's right. You did say that. We do have it on record, yep.
Now, please understand what these people are saying. Keep in mind, I lived with the elite of the world for 3 years. For 35 years, I have been in touch with these people who are now retired, but they're still a part of the elite structure. And I learned back in those days to understand the mindset, the thought patterns. I like to call them buzzwords. And there's some here that you need to understand. When the elite said to me, by the end of 2012, the dollar will be dead, they did not say that the dollar would be non-existent. They said the dollar would be dead. You must take these people at their word. They are the most powerful human beings on the face of this earth. They think they're God, but they aren't.
Yeah.
They just think they are. And they have power. There were some of the people that I knew back in those days when I lived with them that could have written a check for $1 million every day for the rest of their lives, and they would have never spent their fortunes. This is the type of people we're talking about, not people that live from Monday till Friday and get a paycheck and exist week by week. These people live in a whole different world. They live in a different arena. They think differently than what you and I do. And until people understand their thought patterns and their mindset, it's nearly impossible to understand how they do what they do. But these people have literally changed the financial structure of the world within a matter of a few days' time.
Tell us something. Sorry, Lindsay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alan.
I was just going to say, does that tie in anywhere to what we're hearing in the States about the Russian and Chinese troops over in America?
It very well could. I have not discussed this with my elite friends. There are some things that they just don't talk to me about.
Right.
And if I bring up a subject and they don't want to talk about it, they just don't. They're just that powerful. And I don't push the issue because I like to stay in touch with them so I can find out what they really are thinking. It very well could be that this is true. But the catastrophic part of this is when these dollars, trillions of them, return back in 6 to 8 months from now will be the perfect timing of what my elite friend told me back a year and a half, 2 years ago, when they said by the end of 2012 the dollar will be dead, not non-existent. But we are going to see some events take place in America. We're going to see possibly hyperinflation. We're going to see gold and silver prices escalate to a phenomenal amount. We're going to see very unusual things take place in America. Right now, our Federal Reserve is in a horrible condition. I can't even imagine being in Mr. Bernanke's shoes because he is facing QE3. Now, you know that was quantitative easing 1 and 2, and now they are anticipating QE3. He can't do it. He positively cannot do it. He's going to bring the wrath of the world down on him if he initiates QE3. Yet, on the other hand, he can't afford not to do it. We're facing a deficit in America. We're facing a financial crisis that is so great. We have a $16 trillion deficit, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. We're facing infrastructural collapse in many of our financial institutions. They've just announced this week that you can expect a number more of Wall Street institutions to declare bankruptcy in the next week or two. We are facing catastrophic events. He cannot fail to initiate QE3, yet on the other hand, he cannot initiate QE3 because if he does, he's going to bring, you mentioned a moment ago, Alan, you mentioned BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the agreement that these people have had. Keep in mind who BRICS is. BRICS is 43% of the world's population. It's 18% of the world's GDP, and it is 53% of the world's global financial capital. And BRICS has said to our president, when the president of Brazil came to the United States of America, and this happened back on, let me get the date here. It happened on 4/11 of 12, and she came to the United States of America. Her name is Dilma Rousseff, the president of Brazil. And she said, Mr. President, don't you dare initiate QE3 because we don't have a Federal Reserve. We can't do this with our currency. You're going to hurt us terribly. Don't you dare initiate QE3. That's the reason they've held off so long. They've held off for all of these months in initiating QE3 because they're scared to death to do it. They know that BRICS, these countries are going to come down on America with a vengeance. It's going to be almost unreal. It's going to affect your economy in Europe drastically. You think you're in trouble now. You just wait until America can't supply you with what you... the Federal Reserve right now is in a horrible position because of what is happening, and they must initiate QE3, yet they can't initiate QE3. Now, then they know, as well as they know their name, Mr. Bernanke knows that these dollars are going to return back to the United States of America 6 to 8 months from now, unused, unwanted, and at that time the world's going to say, we don't trust your T-bills anymore. We don't trust your Federal Reserve issues that's propping up your dollar. We don't trust those T-bills that pays the interest on the national debt. And when they stop showing up at the Federal Reserve issues, and there's no way for the United States of America to sustain its greenback.
Well, isn't that a common problem, Lindsay, where governments, when they get into trouble, they panic and just start printing money, hoping to fix the problem, but it's only going to devalue the currency and create inflation. And we've had this throughout history, and even in South Africa and Botswana, it's happening over there, where they have $1 trillion notes. So the euro being in a position as well where they're kicking the can down the road, and they just cannot keep on kicking the can down because this quantitative easing that they're trying to sort out, they're just kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they can't keep on producing money out of thin air because it just devalues the currency and creates inflation.
That's exactly what's happening, and it is going to affect your currency in Europe as well as our currency in the United States of America. And I must use the expression again, and please keep in mind that the reserve currency of the world in our lifetime has been the United States dollar. But I need to say as emphatically as I possibly can, and please take precautions accordingly, the American dollar is already dead. It's not in the process of dying. It's already dead. There is another term that you're going to begin hearing. That term is regional trade. Now, we are beginning to hear it a little bit here in America. Now that China is saying you can use our currency, now that the agreement was made, and I hope you realize what took place back in, let's see, get the date here, February of 2012, China and Japan signed the largest trade agreement that has ever been signed in the history of the world. Now, keep in mind, China is the second largest economy in the world. Japan's the third largest economy in the world. And they signed the trade agreement in February of 2012 saying we will trade each other's products back and forth amongst ourselves, and we will not use the American dollar in that sale and trade. This is what is known as a trade war. Now, China has come along and said, you don't need to use the American dollar any longer for the sale and trade of crude oil. And when these trillions, not just billions, but trillions return home, it's like the chickens come home to roost. I was brought up on the farm as a boy, and I know what it is. They use the old expression, the chickens are coming home to roost, and they do. And it is going to plague America within the next 6 to 8 months' time. It is no longer the greenback, which is the standard of currency of the world, and the reserve currency of the world. It's going to be the redback from this point on, and it is going to affect your country. Now, what can you see? And you're already seeing it a little bit. I'm just putting out there what you're already beginning to see, and you need to go back and look at the figures for yourself. We are already beginning to see in America the results of this. And gasoline, where I live, has gone up 25 cents in the last 3 weeks. Gold, in the last 3 weeks here in the United States, has gone up over $100 an ounce. Silver has gone up over $3 an ounce. In fact, over $4 an ounce now as of this morning in the past 3 weeks' time. All of these factors, even though the average American does not realize it, is a direct result of the financial condition that we've gotten ourselves into. Now, let me go back and get some history here that will be very interesting to you. When QE1 was initiated, and you go back and look this up, gold, as of now, QE1 was back a number of years ago, but when QE1 was initiated by the Federal Reserve, gold went up approximately 43% immediately. Silver went up 61%. Groceries in America went up 36%. Crude oil went up 52%. Now, if they initiate QE3, and I hope they don't. If they don't, they really got problems. If they do, they really have problems. If they initiate QE3, which they say they'll announce by the end of this week whether they're going to or not, can you imagine what's going to happen to the price of gold, the price of silver, the price of groceries, the price of oil, and how it is going to affect your currencies right there in Europe as well as here in the United States of America? We are facing some very, very unusual events just around the corner. Now, let me give you an expression that you will begin, you may know about it, you may not. There's something called SWIFT, S-W-I-F-T. If you're taking notes, please write it down. It stands for Society of Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications.
That's right, Jeff.
Yes, go ahead, Alan.
No, I was going to confirm about the SWIFT, what that means. Obviously, what they do is they use that to do financial transfers, don't they?
Yes. In fact, if you wanted to send money to a person in another country besides where you live, you'd probably go to, here in America, you'd go to Western Union.
Yeah.
And Western Union would see to it that it's delivered to that person, guaranteed delivered anywhere in the world that you want it sent. Now, if the super financial people of the world, if the elite, if those who do business in trillions of dollars and billions almost daily wanted to send a communique, such as you would do with Western Union, where you would send maybe $100 or $200, if they wanted to send $1 billion, they would go SWIFT. Society Worldwide Interbank Financial Communication. You and I would never do business with them because we don't do business in those big terms. But the elite would. Do you realize that now what's going to happen to SWIFT? When the Chinese currency is used and China is going to handle the transfer, and there will no longer be the SWIFT handling it, which is many of the banks of Europe as well as America are involved in this, and the billions of dollars that will not be transferred through those banks, and how it is going to affect their bank ledgers as a result of what has just happened with China and the sale of crude oil. This goes so far. It is going to have such a ramification worldwide that it is amazing.
Okay,
now,
can I just ask, what's in it for them and why are they doing it? What are they getting out of this? And why are they doing it? What's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, just what's the ultimate goal for them?
In order to answer that, let me answer a question that has been asked me many times just recently here on radio shows in America. People will call in and say, Chaplain, you're talking about all these things that the elite are doing, and basically they're destroying the United States of America. They said, why would the elite, and most of them are Americans, I knew them. I can name some of them even till today. And to my knowledge, nearly every one of them live in the United States of America. They said, why would the elite destroy their own country? And in order to answer your question, let me answer this question. The elite are not destroying their own country. I know that this sounds like it sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? It sounds opposite to what it is.
Yeah.
But let me try to explain. You must understand the mindset of the elite in order to understand what they're doing. And if I had not lived with them and communicated with them over these 35 years, since the time I lived with them for 3 years, there's no way in the world I could understand this, but I'll try to explain it to you if I can. They said to me, why would they destroy America? I said, they aren't destroying America. They are bringing America under their total control of the new world order. I hope you're catching this.
Yeah.
The elite of the world are not communist. The elite of the world are not Muslim. The elite of the world are new world order. It was announced by Daddy Bush, George Herbert W. Bush, many years, over 20 years ago. He said, New World Order. And people didn't understand what he was saying. I didn't either. I do today.
Yeah.
You do.
I do.
They want to establish a one world, new world order. In order to do it, they must destroy all the currencies of the world. Yes, you heard me correctly. They must destroy the currency, the greenback of the United States of America. They must destroy Greece. They must destroy France. They must destroy Italy. They must... Okay, just a while back, I was talking to one of my latest friends, and I said, why in this world would anybody in their right mind buy a Greek bond? I mean, Greece is bankrupt. Let's admit it. I mean, whether it's here in America or over there, you know that Greece is in trouble.
So is Ireland. Ireland is bankrupt.
Yeah, Ireland's bankrupt. Why would the elite buy the bonds in order to keep Greece afloat? And I said, what is it? He said, Chaplain, you don't understand. I said, what are you talking about? He said, we're buying the Greek bonds. I said, what? You know you'll never get paid back. You know good and well that you won't even get the interest on those bonds. I said, why in this world are you buying the bonds? Why are you bailing out? More than I don't know about Ireland, but undoubtedly they're probably bailing you out too by way off.
Oh, they are, yeah.
Why would you do this? He said, Chaplain, very simple. He said, don't you understand that when we finally get ready to allow the currencies of the world to collapse, whenever we have this catastrophic financial collapse in both the euro as well as the American dollar, he said, we will step in and say, Greece, you don't have any choice. We hold your paper. We bought your bonds. We bailed you out for the longest and kept you going. You don't have any choice. You must accept our new world order. Your currency has collapsed. You will have to accept our new world order currency. And they'll be standing at the door waiting to be able to issue you the World Bank and the IMF new world order currency, and it will be backed by gold and silver.
Okay, and I think what we can do is explain to people who probably don't understand what a bond is. A bond is our future earnings, and what the Irish government did a couple of years ago was they sold something like 2.1 billion bonds to the actual markets over in Europe. Now, a bond is, you could say, well, I'm pretty sure it is short for bondage, and it's based on your future earnings. So they're selling bonds based on your future earnings that they're going to tax you. So when children of today are actually, when they're born and they start leaving school and start working, all their future earnings are based on bonds that are being sold. And so what we had with, and the banks is a little bit different. The banks sold the bonds to raise funds to invest in the property market, which then collapsed. And of course, we now, the bondholders in America and in Europe, want their money back. So we, even though the banks gambled, so the bonds that the bank sold is pretty similar to the bonds that the Irish government is doing, except the Irish government are selling future earnings. That's why it's bond is short for bondage. And this is what's happening. And I suppose what, Lindsay, what you're saying is that when they go to Greece or go to Ireland or go to Italy or whichever country is, and they buy all the bonds, basically they own the country. And then they will dictate to that country what they have to do, because the country will be on its knees and won't have any choice in the matter. Is that correct?
That is correct. In fact, for 35 years, and I've said it on your show many times, the name of the game with the elite and with the New World Order, the name of the game is control. Yeah. It's not money. It's not just dollars and cents. They know it's going to collapse. They know the dollar's going to collapse. They know that your currency is going to collapse. They know that the euro is going to collapse. It's inevitable. They know it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. It's what they want. But they want it in their timing. They want it in their way. And they want to bring in the New World Order. They are using the Arabs. They are using the communists. They are using China. And whenever they get through with them, they'll throw them out in the bathwater. They use and use and use. The name of the game is control. They want control of your country. They want control of the United States of America. They want to bring in the New World Order their way. And the way that they can do it, they're not destroying America. They're not destroying Ireland. They're not destroying Greece. They're taking them over. They are controlling them.
They're just trying to control everything. Tell me something, Lindsay. Have you heard anything else regarding, because we know we've heard about the Russian and Chinese troops apparently in America, which is going to have a major effect. And obviously we can probably see martial law being instigated when this crash happens. But there's a lot of talk of technology and things being moved away from the east coast of America because they're concerned about this forthcoming pole shift. Now, I don't know whether the elites that you speak to are aware of this pole shift, and they have underground bases, or they're going to go somewhere if this pole shift happens, because we're getting loads of information regarding this pole shift. Have you heard anything from them regarding pole shifts or any major catastrophes on the planet due to things that have been predicted? Like the pole shift is supposed to happen every 26,000 years. And this is supposed to be coming. Obviously, you have 2012 around the corner. Have they talked to you about anything about this?
Many talk show hosts have asked me, Chaplain, next time you talk with one of your elite friends, would you please ask them certain questions? One of them has been Planet X. And you know that's been around for some time.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about also the possibility of polar shifts, which the Earth's crust shows that this has happened in the past.
Yeah.
I have asked them some of these questions, and they refuse to talk to me about it. They just won't answer. They just don't say anything. They basically say, Chaplain, we want to change the subject. And whenever they do, rather than not be able to get the other information that I'm able to get out of them, I don't push the issue. This is one subject I cannot get them to talk about. Whether they know it's going to happen, whether they've made preparation or not, I'm quite sure they have. If they know it's going to happen, I have one of my elite friends that's leaving here in about a week, and he's going abroad for 2 months. And I'm amazed. I don't know why he's going. All I know is he's doing it. I don't know whether he knows that something's going to happen around the election or what's going to take place. He won't tell me. But he's leaving, actually going abroad for 2 months' time. These people are so powerful and know so much. And sometimes they'll tell me things, sometimes they won't. I think probably the most significant item that I need also to relate to your audience out there is, and everybody who will be listening to this by way of the internet and so on, just recently, my elite friends basically said to me, Chaplain, you need to protect yourself. Now, they talked to me about things like Syria. I wish to goodness I had a whole hour just on the subject of the Middle East, and talked to you about Assad, who's head of Syria, and talk to you about Russia and why they just pulled out of Syria. All of this is playing into their hands. About a year and a half ago, about a year and a half ago when Egypt had that problem when Mubarak was being deposed. And then, of course, Gaddafi came along in Libya. And they gave it all to the Muslim Brotherhood. And I went to my elite friends and I said, what in this world are you doing in the Middle East? What's going on? I knew they were having some part in this. And my elite friend told me everything. I was dumbfounded that he would even tell me about it. He told me every nation they were going to take over. They told me exactly how they were going to do it. They told me about the Muslim Brotherhood. They told me why they were doing it. They told me how it related to the Bakken oil field here in America, in North and South Dakota and Montana. They told me about how it related to the Liberty rig. By the way, please go on the Internet and look up the word Liberty rig. Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, BP Oil Company. Liberty rig, largest oil rig ever built on the face of the earth for the drilling for crude oil, and how that what's happening right now in Syria relates to each of these things. And when he got through, this was about a year and a half ago, I was utterly dumbfounded. I went in studio and did a DVD series entitled The Middle East, The Rest of the Story. Much of it is still to take place exactly as they told me a year to a year and a half ago it was going to happen. And if you haven't seen it, please, The Middle East, The Rest of the Story. Then, recently, I knew all this background.
Yeah.
I knew what they were doing, and I understood from conversations with them what was happening. And then when I saw this QE3 thing come along, and I realized what's going to happen with the American dollar, I was flabbergasted. I mean, I was beside myself. And they said to me one day, they said, Chaplain, you need to protect yourself. I said they probably said this out of courtesy more than anything else. They said, you need to protect your household. You need to make preparations. They said, we'd like to tell you how. You can know. Now, please, folks, this is going to determine your dinner table. And please believe, you'll see it happen. Just take the elite at the word. They're going to do this. And he said to me, Chaplain, the collapse is coming. He said it's going to be worldwide. And he said, we would like you to be able to know a few months before it happens it's going to happen. I said, why? He said, if you do certain things, you can secure your assets, you can set your house in order. And he said, if you know in advance, he said, the people who don't know before it happens are the ones that are in trouble. And I said, okay, how can I know a few months or at least a few weeks in advance before you're going to allow this financial collapse to take place? Now, let me clarify this a little bit. Back at last fall, about 1 year ago right now, I produced a DVD series entitled 2012, The Beginning of the End. And in that, I told you what all of the agendas of the elite were for the year 2012. And I hope you saw that DVD series back in those days. I was dumbfounded at what they were doing. And so then they said to me, okay, you can make preparations for your household if you know what's going on. And I said, okay, first of all, tell me how. And the first thing they said was, we want to tell you what not to watch. This is strange, Alan and Steve, but he said, Chaplain, don't pay any attention to Wall Street and the New York stock market. I said, what? I said, I listen to the stock market report every day as it goes up and down. He said, don't pay attention to it. He said, Wall Street and the New York stock market is not an indication of anything. And secondly, he said, don't pay any attention to the euro. He said, no, the European Union. He said, we still have it under our control. It was at that time, Alan and Steve, that they told me that they were intentionally creating massive debt all over the world, in every country, every state in America, every city. They wanted to create massive debt before they allowed the financial collapse to take place. This is so... only in the mind of the elite could you possibly understand this. They are creating debt in the euro. They're creating debt in Ireland. They're creating debt in Greece and Spain and Italy and America, in every state in America. They're creating this massive debt every way they can, intentionally delaying the financial collapse until they go as far as they possibly can go, so that when they get ready to step in, they can merely say, you don't have any choice. Yeah. Your currency is gone. You must accept our new world order. Alan, go ahead.
Okay, and what are the signs? Obviously, you can't ring around everybody and say, watch out, it's coming, but what are the signs that we need to be looking for?
They said to me, Chaplain, what you need to watch is the derivative market. Now, up until about a year ago, I didn't even know what a derivative was. I had to educate myself. They said, whenever you see a crack in the derivative market, you will know that shortly the financial collapse is going to take place. Well, I was put in touch with a man by the name of Mr. Tom Fowler. He is a Wall Street insider. And when I talked with him, he said, Chaplain, back about 35 years ago, he said, I was on Wall Street as a young man. And he said, I was told by my superiors that I was to begin selling derivatives, and he said, I didn't even know what they were. And he said, they told me to sell them worldwide. He said, not too long after that, another person, my superior, came to me and told me why they were creating this derivative market. Creating it 35 years ago. I mean, this is how far back these people had planned all this. And he said, he told me that they were creating the derivative market so that when they got ready to, they could bring about or allow a financial collapse of the currencies of the world.
Okay.
And when I was told this by Tom Fowler, I said, wait a minute, Tom. I said, what you're saying is mind-boggling. I said, have you ever appeared on any radio show or TV show and said that? He said, no. I said, have you ever done a DVD telling your story? He said, no. I said, would you? He said, well, why not? He said, our dinner table's all at stake. He traveled all the way across America, came out to where I live, did a DVD series with me just a few months ago entitled Secrets of the Elite. You've never heard anything like this. Never, ever, and never will. There are secrets told in here that are so mind-boggling. And you hear him personally tell it. And he said, Chaplain, the derivative market was created for the purpose of being able to collapse it when they got ready to. And if you know, and if you can see the crack in the derivative market before it happens, you will know when the collapse is going to take place a few months later. And I want to tell you how to discern when that crack is going to take place.
Where we can watch it, where we can see this, where we can monitor this as well.
Yes, how you can monitor this and how you can know it's going to happen. First of all, a crack in the derivative market will be evidenced by currency wars. Now, you're going to get three expressions here. They probably for the sake of your household, will be one of the greatest things you ever hear to help spare you heartache. And if you can understand these, and in the few minutes that I've got to give it here, and Alan and Steve, both of you know that I'm limited somewhat on time, but I'm going to go as long as I possibly can, and then we'll have to break off. But if for some reason you don't understand the intricate details of all of this, please get my latest DVD series. It's 3.5 hours long, entitled Secrets of the Elite. And then I produced a CD, which you can play in your automobile CD player as you travel down the road, of every detail that they gave me in relation to the derivative market. You will sit there dumbfounded. You'll listen to it over and over and over. It is a college education, mini college education into finance. Now, just in case I have to drop off, let me give you our toll-free number. Or you can go, first of all, let me give it to you on the web.
Okay.
Many of you in foreign countries. Please go on the web to prophecyclub.com, 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 and you'll find our latest series, Secrets of the Elite, and the CD, which I give you as a gift, an hour and 12 minutes long, along with the 3.5-hour DVD that you watch on the television at home. You can also go to lindseywilliams.net. You'll find it there. LINDSEY Williams.net or prophecyclub.com. You can go to either one of those sites and get this. Now, let me give it to you very quickly. A crack in the derivative market will be evidenced by currency wars. Let me try to explain one of these. This happened on April the 14th of 2012. China threatened America. Yeah, you've probably heard it on the news, even in Europe. But whether you understood what you were hearing or not is another whole story. China on that date said, we are going to allow our currency to float between 0.5 and 1% against the American dollar. Now, to the average person, that would have meant nothing. To me, knowing what the elite have told me, it was shattering. Why? China didn't do it, she threatened it. And she said, between 0.5 and 1%. You realize that between 0.5 and 1% is a 100% increase. And if China allowed their currency to float against the American dollar to 1%, every product that we have in America marked made in China would double its price. And this is how catastrophic this is. This is what is known as a currency war. Even though China threatened it then, they haven't carried out that threat yet. When Mrs. Dilma Rousseff, the president of Brazil, came to the United States of America that I referred to a few moments ago, and said to our president, don't you dare initiate QE3. If you do, we are going to respond as BRICS and Brazil. And now we're facing QE3. And Mr. Our president of the Federal Reserve is in horrible because I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. This is what is known as a currency war. They haven't initiated yet. When you begin to see currency wars start, be physically initiated, and it could be after QE3.
Can I just ask you something, Lindsay? Just so I know we're short in time. And the currency wars, I totally agree, it's definitely going to be going on at the moment with China. The other thing that we've heard, and obviously I don't know whether you've heard this, is that the election is not going to take place in November. Something is going to happen. There's going to be an event that's going to be too big, that's going to be very big, that because Obama wants to stay in power, and people know over there that they don't want him in because he didn't change anything, and all his promises kind of fell on deaf ears and nothing happened. But apparently there's going to be a big event in the States before the election which will stop the election from taking place. Did they talk to you about this as well?
No, they have not. In fact, they don't want it. Now, Mr. Obama may very well himself bring this about. But let me try to explain, and I have to diverge here for just a moment and make a statement that some of you out there, you don't have to really think about this. The elite do not want revolution. I hope you're hearing this. Now, you aren't going to get this from many of the radio talk shows because they're all talking about some big event. The elite don't want it. Now, let me try to help you understand something here. The elite want to bring in the new world order according to their auspices. They do not want to bring it in through revolution. They want to bring it in through a financial collapse that will take place where they have everybody and every nation in such a condition that they will have to do it. Now, Obama has really gotten on the bad side of the elite recently. In fact, I have right here before me, I wish you could see these, some articles that have appeared in our liberal United States media, just cutting Mr. Obama all to pieces, and I guarantee you the elite saw to it that it happened. In fact, the Washington Post, you couldn't get a more liberal newspaper than that, came out with a scathing article just the other day on Obama, and as soon as I saw it, I said, that didn't come from a Washington Post writer. I said, that came from the elite themselves. There was another, there's the Harvard University professor. He could lose his job over this. He came out with an article just the other day. You'll find it on the Internet. His name is David Kaiser. He's a very well-respected historian. And he came out with the most scathing article you could ever imagine about Mr. Obama. And I'll guarantee you that the elite saw to it this came out. They are really... They are not for Obama's reelection, but here's what very well could happen. This Obama has already double-crossed the elite a number of times. That Trans-Canada pipeline, he turned thumbs down on it. The elite had told him to approve it. And when he did, it made the elite so mad they were livid. There are some things taking place right now in the United States of America that those abroad don't even realize. Some people in America can't even see it. But the Washington Times, the Washington Post, this Harvard professor, they've all come out with articles just tearing Obama all to pieces. We had this new movie that just was in America the other day. You've probably heard about it, entitled Obama's 2016. And people, millions have seen it in America, and it just tears Obama all to pieces. The elite are very upset with Mr. Obama, but Mr. Obama himself may very well, whenever he sees that he's losing and he's in a corner, and his ratings, by the way, are down 10% right now below the Republican opponent. And whenever he sees that he's losing, I am very concerned about October. This man might be like an animal that gets in a corner and he realizes he's going to die. And at that point, they'll fight to the death. And it really concerns me what Obama may attempt to do. As you have just indicated, that it very well could happen.
Well, this is what we've been told, that there's going to be an October surprise. And because Obama wants to stay in power, he's going to, or something's going to happen which will stop the election taking place, which means that he will stay in power.
It very well could happen, and if it does, it'll be Obama that does it. It will not be the elite that do it, because right now Mr. Obama is not in the elite's favors whatsoever. I have had some emails just tearing him all to pieces by my elite friends, and if they have their way, he won't get back in as President of the United States of America. And right now, it looks as though that may be the case. Now, Mr. Obama may do this, and I hope he doesn't, but he might. So let's get back to derivatives, because you must understand what the elite are doing, because they're the ones that will eventually come out on the winning side. Well, I take that back. We know who's going to win. We've read the last chapter of the Bible, and we know that the winner is going to be the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And there's coming a time that your faith in Jesus Christ and the Word of God is going to be the most important thing you have, because the Lord will win in the end. The elite aren't going to win. I'm glad I've read the last chapter.
Good.
Now, go back to derivatives. A crack in the derivative market will be evidenced by currency wars. And when you see these start, as the elite said to me, they said, Chaplain, if you wait until the New York stock market crashes, they said, you've waited too late, you've lost it. They said, you can't wait till then to get out of your paper. Did you hear that? Get out of paper. Paper of every kind. Every currency imaginable. If it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You must get out of paper before the collapse takes place. Now, you can get into many things. A garden in the backyard that's paid for. A roof over your head that's paid for. These are tangibles, gold and silver. This is their currency. And if ever there's a time you need to buy it right now because the QE3 goes in, you're going to see gold and silver spike up to, I don't know where it might go.
Okay.
It could go almost anywhere.
Can I just jump in there, Lindsay? I think what you're saying is quite appropriate for a lot, some people are in a position to do that. But the majority of people, especially over in Ireland, we have something like 4 suicides a day. We have people losing their homes because their banks are taking their homes off and foreclosing on their homes over here. And people are just about having enough money to feed themselves and their family. So realistically, and we'll be honest with this, people don't have the money to pay off their mortgage, so they still have a mortgage with the banks, and they only have enough money at the end when they pay their bills to just about afford food. So financially, if you're in the position to afford silver and gold and pay off your mortgage, or if you're free of a mortgage, that's fine. But for the majority of people over here, definitely in Ireland, and I'd say in the UK and Europe, generally most of the people either have a mortgage or they just have enough money for food. So if we can base it on that kind of finance, that the lack of money they have. So what would you suggest based on that? They just a complete lack of money, and we have a mortgage that we can't get rid of, or we can't pay off.
Yes, I think you can see, Alan, from what you have just said, that the elite have you there in Ireland and us here in America in the exact position that they want us in.
Yeah.
Now, you literally have told the whole story right there in what you just said. They want to get everyone to the place that when the currency collapses, they can't pay that mortgage.
Yeah.
And the elite will merely step in and say, we don't mind. We'll be more than happy to repossess your house. We'll just rent it back to you the rest of your life. Do you realize that this is not destruction?
Well, that's what's happening here.
It's not destroying the country. Instead, it is control.
What you've just said is happening over here. That they're saying, I tell you what, we won't kick you out of your house. You just rent it off us. That's what's happening over here now.
And that same thing is happening in America.
Mm.
The housing market is not getting any better. People are still having to give up their houses, millions and millions. The house prices are going down. They continue to drop. And I predict they're going to drop another 25 to 30% before it's finally time for something drastic to happen with the currency. We're facing QE3. Every bit of this is not a destruction of the elite's country. Instead, it is their method of bringing everything under their total control of the new world order.
Yes, and we've heard also that the five top banks in America are actually in the process of writing their living wills before they close down. And the living wills is basically the whole process of the bank, all the information about how the bank runs and all that kind of stuff. So a kind of operation or operating procedure of the banking before they shut down, because of what's going on. Now, this has been in the news and mentioned in the news, and we have obviously banks over here, and the banks are in trouble over here. We're paying off the bondholders because the banks gambled, and the taxpayer is paying for it. The government don't know what to do, so what they're doing is they keep applying austerity. We have the Troika from Europe coming in and saying that now we have to not only pay for a property charge, which people have to pay €100 this year, but next year it could be 400, 500, 600 euros. And the Troika are saying you have to charge 0.5% of the property of the value. And the Irish government are just not seeing it. They're just kowtowing to what Europe are saying. And people, as I say, there's 4 suicides a day over here in Ireland. I mean, we only have a population of 4.4 million. So, for people leaving the country and people committing suicide, I mean, it's just incredible what's happening, all because of this financial collapse and what's going on.
Yes, you're facing it there. The euro is facing it all over Europe. America is facing it. Canada is beginning to face it. The whole thing is a part of the New World Order, elites, total control measures. Just the other day, the 4 leading banks of America admitted to something. The first time they've admitted to this, and they even gave the figures. They admitted that when QE1 and QE2 was initiated by the Federal Reserve, and billions of dollars was given to bail out the leading banks of America, they did not put that money back into the American economy. They took that money that was given to them by the Federal Reserve and they invested it in derivatives. I hope you're catching this, because this derivative thing is the key to every bit of it. Though, I'll give you the 4 major banks: J.P. Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. They just admitted to it the other day that they took their money that was given them by QE1, QE2 from the Federal Reserve. They're not investing it in small businesses. They're not investing it in the housing market and the real estate crisis as it was given to them, intended to be done in order to get the economy of America going again. Instead, they took that money. They knew that by betting, that's all the world derivative is a glorified super bet. They took that money and bet and invested it in derivatives. And here are the figures. You have those pencils and paper. I'm sure you're writing by now. J.P. Morgan Chase has an exposure of $70.1 trillion in the derivative market right now.
That's incredible.
This is startling. Citibank has an exposure that's $52.1 trillion. Bank of America has $50.1 trillion exposure to the derivative market, and Goldman Sachs has $44.2 trillion. And do you realize that because the Federal Reserve bailed out these 4 banks with QE1 and QE2, that the American taxpayer will be responsible for this debt whenever the derivative market collapses?
Well, it's just all going to collapse, Lindsay, because, we know that the New World Order wanted to bring in a global currency called the Bancor. And also, the other thing that they want to do is they want to, for the New World Order, they want the people of the earth to be united as one. So there's a lot of talk about this fake alien invasion, which they will use holographic technology and their own secret technology to have Jesus appear in the sky for all the Catholic countries, and you have Allah and Buddha for the Eastern countries and the Muslim countries. And wherever your God is, in whatever country you're in, they'll have a holographic display. And this will be supposed to be the second coming of Christ to Allah or Buddha. And this is one of the things that we've been told, that this is what they're planning, because they want to have the one world government, one world new order, and everybody under the one umbrella. And the way they do this is to have something from outside the planet affected. And also what will happen is they have made a lot of money on war and machines and tanks, and like the Carlyle Group is a defence company, they've made a lot of money with that. They want to step up the game. And now what they want to do is start saying there's an outside threat to the earth, so we all have to club together as human beings, and we all now have to fund the money to pay for technology to fight the aliens that are coming down. Now, this is what we're told the plan of attack is. I don't know whether they've told you that.
No, they haven't. It very well could be that they would do this. It would stand to reason that that could be the case. They have not gone into that. Usually the only thing they talk with me about is what's happening to the dollar, what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in banking. They very seldom ever get into the physical things that you've just talked about, but it very well could be.
Yeah, because the whole thing with them is obviously making the money. Now, I know money's not of interest to them, but it is control. And we have Dr. Carol Rosin, who's trying to get a treaty for space. She's trying to get 5 heads, country presidents and ministers to sign off. She needs 9 people to sign a treaty to say that the weaponization of space cannot take place. Because she knows, and the people around her know, that when they start weaponizing space, we have definitely lost it. And this could be their plan, but they probably haven't said anything to you about this.
Very well could be. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. Now, since time is getting along here, let me try once again to finish the other 2 points on derivatives. Whenever there is a crack in the derivative market, it will be evidenced. You can see it by currency wars if you have learned how to look for them. And that's what we teach you in our 3-hour-and-a-half Secrets of the Elite DVD series that I just produced here recently. I try to give you all of the details as to how to understand this, even though normally only a person in the finance world would pick up on it. Secondly, the second indication of a crack in the derivative market is trade wars. Now, I gave you an example earlier in the program of China and Japan signing the largest trade agreement that's ever been signed in the history of the world back in February of 2012. And they said we will trade and sell products that are made in our own country back and forth amongst ourselves, and we will not use the American dollar. This is a trade war. Now, the same thing took place with Iran. As you know, America put sanctions on Iran. And Iran produces approximately 3.5 million barrels of crude oil every 24 hours. And America said you can't use the petrodollar any longer for the sale of your oil. In Europe, they said after June the 1st, which has already gone by, you can't sell any of our European Union countries your oil, Iran. So the sanctions were put on by the UN, by America, and by the European Union. Well, what's Iran going to do with these 3.5 million barrels of oil every 24 hours? First of all, India came around and said, Iran, no problem. We need oil. We need oil bad. But you can't, but Iran says, we can't sell it to you using the American dollar. They said, right. India said, we will pay you in gold shipments. I hope you caught that, folks. We will send you physical gold. We need your oil that bad. Now, Saudi Arabia did a similar thing back in March of 2012. And Saudi Arabia said, China, you need oil. Well, China said, how do we do this? And Saudi Arabia said, we will build the largest oil refinery that's ever been built in your country, and we will supply you oil to be refined in that oil refinery, and we'll use our own currencies in order to do it. I mean, this is staggering. This is called a trade war. BRICS, on April the 5th of 2012, you remember we talked about the BRICS nations a few moments ago. Yeah. They likewise have said, we're going to rebel. You put in QE3, and you've got a backlash coming. And then, of course, China also is getting oil from Iran now and paying in gold. This is what is known as a trade war. And if these trade wars increase, it will be an indication of the fact that the collapse in the derivative market is just around the corner. And when the derivative market collapses, it will bring every currency in the world. I hope you're hearing this. When the derivative market crashes, it will bring every currency in the world down with it at the same time.
Where do we go to monitor? Where do we go to monitor this, Lindsay? Is there a website, or how do we monitor the derivatives?
Well, first of all, you will be able to listen to the local news and hear some of the buzzwords of all of this. Whenever you hear my 3.5-hour presentation, Secrets of the Elite, and get the CD that I send you along with it, you will be able to personally begin to monitor this as a person who will hear these things happen. You also can go to, this is very interesting. Back about 3.5 years ago, one of the elite called me on the phone, and was he mad. Oh, my goodness. He said, Chapin, you've got to quit this. He said, you've said too much. He said, your website is saying things that we can't have said. And he said, you've got to close your website down. And he said, you either do this, this, and this, and this, or he said, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And what he said wasn't too pleasant. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And within 24 hours' time, my website was gone. I never put up another one because I didn't dare. Well, there's some people in the world who have become so concerned. There's one man in Great Britain, in the United Kingdom, that decided this information's got to get out. He, on his own, without even my permission, set up a website. Yeah, you're right. Later on, I found out who it was that had set it up, and I thanked him. I said, I appreciate so much what you've done. I said, I can't do this, but you can. He said, Chaplain, will you send me information from time to time? Well, it's not my website. I hope the elite are listening to your program today. They'll realize that I didn't set this up. But I'm giving him information sometimes every 24 hours, sometimes whenever it comes my way. I will send him information. You ask him, where can you get some of this? Well, there's one place you can get it. Will come directly from what the elite give me that I'll pass on to him. And it's entitled LindseyWilliams.net, Lindsey Williams.net. And you will be able to monitor some of the things that I'm allowed to give out on that website. And I'll give you everything I possibly can to help you understand when the currency wars and the trade wars are taking place. And you will learn from my DVD how to monitor this for yourself. Now, there's a third item, and this is the final. This will be the end of it all. Whenever, and you'll hear this, you will hear this over your local news, I guarantee you, even over your liberal media in Europe, there in your country, in America, this will be heard. But the average person won't realize what they're hearing. Whenever you hear that the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates, it's all over. I hope you caught that.
Obviously,
Now,
that includes the IMF as well. When they start to raise the interest rates, because obviously if the Fed are doing it, the IMF will probably, or the ECB, the European Central Bank.
Yes. Whenever they begin to raise interest rates, as they put it to me, they say, Chaplain, if you wait until this point, he said, it's too late. You probably won't have time to get out of your paper. Now, all of you know that there's a certain amount of paper we have to do business in. We just can't do without it. But at the last minute, if you can discern in time, as one of them asked me a while back, they said, Chaplain, can you afford to lose the money you've got in the bank? And, well, first of all, he asked me this. He said, how much money do you have in the bank? Well, I wasn't willing to answer his question over the telephone. And he said, all right, let me ask you another question. He said, can you afford to lose the money you have in the bank? And I said, no, I can't. He said, then you've got to get out of paper before it happens. And I said, right. And then, of course, that is when he told me a lot of these things. If you know in advance, you will have time to get out of those 401ks, as we call them in America, the IRAs. You won't be able to depend on your retirement fund, your mutual funds, all these things. Anything that is written on a piece of paper is worth the paper it's written on. But if you know in time, you can get out of those things immediately, no matter what it costs you. And at least you'll spare what you can. Whenever you hear that the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates, it's all over. And that's the end. That's the final straw. And that's what they told me. Now, Mr. Bernanke has promised, of course you can't keep any, his word doesn't mean a thing, but Mr. Bernanke promised that the Federal Reserve will not raise interest rates through 2014.
Right,
but that doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe him because the Federal Reserve is privately owned anyway.
Yes. So his promise doesn't mean anything except that it kept the people in the market just a little bit longer. A 1% rise in interest rates by the Federal Reserve would add $140 billion to the national debt of the United States of America. Just a 1% rise.
That's incredible.
Can't do that. Now, in the European Union, you would have something very similar.
Well,
a rise in interest rates over there would collapse things, yes, Alan.
Oh, totally, because it's over here now. I think we've had about 3 years of, no interest rate hikes. Because they know that if they raise the interest rates, it's going to kill the economy. Because they're trying to apply austerity and try and grow the economy at the same time. And you can't do that. You either do one or the other, but you won't get growth by applying austerity. It's just it just won't work. It doesn't work that way. And if they put the interest rates up, as you said with the Fed, if they do it with the ECB and that filters down to the banks in Europe, then we've had it. They've crucified the system. I think
that is the final straw. You're correct. That is the final straw, so to speak. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. This will be the end of it all. Whenever you hear that interest rates are rising, you know that right around the corner the derivative market is going to collapse, and this will bring basically every one of the financial institutions in the world down with it. whether they like to admit it or not, they are invested in derivatives. The four major banks in America took QE1 and QE2 money invested in derivatives. They'll probably take QE3 money and invested in derivatives and not in the American economy. And it's just a matter of time until we see them be able to bring in. But before they do it, and in the meantime, they are going to create massive debt and debt and debt and more debt and more debt. You've never heard of the like of the debt that's going to be created by the elite before they allow a collapse of the derivative market and of the financial institutions.
Can I just ask you, if the currency goes to a value of nothing, as what happened in Botswana when they had issuing $1 trillion notes and they had really no value, if the value of the euro goes down to nothing as the value of the dollar goes to nothing, surely that means that if you have a property, the value of that property is zero because the currency is zero. Would that make sense?
It makes sense, and exactly how they will do it at that point is anybody's guess. I know that they will, and it's only a matter of time until they do. But at that point, keep in mind that if you've got paid for a house, they can't take it back from you. If you've got to pay for an automobile, they can't take it back from you.
Of course, yeah.
The name of the game is control, and the control factor is what they're after in order to bring in the New World Order.
Okay.
But
Well,
I want to give you some encouragement here.
okay.
I think there's hope. I still believe in divine intervention. And I would urge every person out there in your audience, Alan and Steve, please, before you do anything financially, before you take any other measures, you must set your spiritual house in order. If you know Jesus Christ is your Savior, if you are sure that the Bible is your guide and your home is on a solid rock, you will be able to stand. And I'm still hoping that we will see divine intervention here and that the elite will not win. You need to make all preparations as if it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yet, on the other hand, I hope it is. Now, listen, there's one thing you cannot do, though. You cannot stay awake at night and worry over this.
Yeah.
You cannot do it. One of the things that the elite told me was that one of their agendas for 2012 was to create fear. And I got in touch with a physician friend of mine. In fact, he's very famous. He has a nationwide radio talk show here in America. And I got in touch with him and I said, what does fear create in the human mind? Oh, he said, Chaplain, it shuts the human brain down. I said, that's it. See, the elite had already told me that they were creating all of these. You realize that we have not had a single, since 9/11, we have not had a single terrorist attack in America, yet they got the American people scared to death that we're going to have a terrorist attack at the Winter Olympics in London. Didn't happen.
That's
it was
right.
only a scare tactic.
Yeah.
They created fear in the minds of the American people. Now, folks, keep in mind, fear shuts the brain down so you can't think rationally.
Yeah.
And this is one of the agendas of the elite, and you cannot allow what you've heard today on the Alan and Steve show to create any fear in your mind whatsoever. You use this in order to help you know what right decisions to make, but you do not let this create fear in your mind because fear shuts the brain down. Instead, make rational decisions and take precautions to do what you need to do. And the first precaution is you get right with Jesus Christ. You let the Bible be your guide. You have your house on a solid rock so that when the storms come, it won't wash it away. Then you can know rationally how to make all of these other decisions that you need to make.
Well, I'll say one thing, Lindsay. You know, if the actual elite are listening to the show when we send it out live, I will, if karma does exist, which I hope it does, they're in for a big surprise. Well, I'll tell you what, Lindsay, your time and your information has been fantastic. You're a scholar and a gentleman. Thank you for getting in touch and coming onto the show. It's much appreciated. And you take care of yourself. I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve will do the ending and you get all your details off you so people know where they can contact you. So over to Steve there.
Yeah, Pastor Lindsey Williams, it's been an honour and a privilege to have you on the show again. Would you like to, maybe before I promote the two websites that you gave us earlier? Well, actually, I'll do that now. We get that out of the way. But the two websites that you gave us earlier were lindseywilliams.net, LINDSEY, williams.net. I know you said that website has a lot. I'm actually looking at it here now. It does have a lot of information, and a lot of your interviews stemming back to 2008 up to 2012. So there's a lot of information on that website. So obviously anyone who needs information should pop along there first. And as you did say, Prophecy Club, they also have the copy of your latest DVD, and that's on there as well. I'm sure it's every minute of those 3 DVDs is well worth it, and the audio CD as well. But now that we've kind of moved that out of the way, Secrets of the Elite and lindseywilliams.net, is there any statement or any final words that in closing that you feel will be important to the listeners of this show?
Know the issues. Don't be afraid. Make all the preparations that you need to make while your currency is still fairly stable. I've tried to beg the American people. Right now, our currency still has a fairly decent purchasing power. The elite are approximately 6 months behind in that program because of Syria. Assad has set them back. This is a golden window of opportunity to do what you need to do because your currency still has not collapsed yet. So instead of fearing, take every method that you feel that the Lord is leading you to take to do what you need to do. I will try to post everything we can on lindseywilliams.net in the future and help you every way I can. In the meantime, please go to prophecyclub.com, prophecyclub.com. Our latest 3.5 hour DVD presentation just released here a while back, entitled Secrets of the Elite, Things Never Told, and the CD that comes with it, an hour and 12 minutes long. And Alan and Steve, there are a lot of stations that are putting me on about once a month because they say things are happening so fast and you can give us updates. If you would like me to be available to you anytime, I feel that we're coming down to a critical point now when people need to be getting information on a regular basis. I consider it an honor and a privilege that you would allow me to be on your show, and thank you so very much. I'm available anytime I can be of help to you.
That's fantastic. We really appreciate that. Pastor Williams, thank you very much for coming on the show. That's much appreciated, and we will be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com, CNSradio.ning.com, and ICRadioNetwork.com.
And we're back, and that was a pre-record from Pastor Lindsey Williams.
Yep. He loves us.
He does love us.
Get your house in order.
Did he mention anything about buying his DVD?
No, I think he forgot to mention that.
He forgot to mention that, okay. He does like his DVD and advertise his DVD. I know he wants to get the information out there. And I think there's mixed comments on the chat facility, on both chat facilities, TNS and our own one, OYM, about the information. And I think what the comment that Steve made was pretty bang on, Steve. I think you got a mixture of truth with a little bit of disinfo as well.
Well, that's my own personal opinion on what Lindsey Williams says. I mean, I don't know, as you don't know. No one actually knows if he's genuine, if he does have elitist friends. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But if he, let's just say for argument's sake, he does. Well, they know, because they're not stupid. These cabals and these elite people, they're not stupid, and they know that there are people like Lindsey Williams, and they're putting the information out there. So I'm sure every so often they'll probably feed him with a lot of crap. Maybe he's intelligent enough to weed out the crap, and then every now and again they'll throw him a bone. So if they throw him a bone, I mean, he can hardly kind of stretch the bone. I know someone mentioned it earlier. If he has 3 minutes of information, can he stretch that 3 minutes of information to 3 hours on a DVD? The director's cut Blu-ray edition, I don't know, just in time for Christmas. But can he do it? I don't know. So therefore, I'm guessing when he's doing his DVDs, because obviously he makes a few bob from the, selling these products. Maybe he puts in some of the information that he knows is kind of maybe untrue, but it's not wacky, out there information. So maybe he puts that in and he mixes it up with some of the other information as well, just to get 3 hours worth of info. But I mean, is he on the money? I don't know. A lot of the stuff that he says does make sense, and it has kind of come to pass. But I'm sure, like everything else, Alan, if he does have elitist friends, they're not going to give him everything verbatim and say, well, this is exactly what's going to happen, that's exactly when it's going to happen, and this is exactly how it's going to happen. They're not going to do that. I mean,
exactly. But it's interesting that when we did that interview, it was before the American election.
It was, yeah.
And we were talking about, things planned with Obama and everything else, the October surprise. And I suppose if you look at what happened in reflection of what we said there on the interview, and if you look at things now in hindsight, there was an October surprise. The October surprise was Hurricane Sandy. And the fact that Obama, I mean, if he had anything to do with that, to rig it so in such a way he looked like a saviour, I mean, plenty of marketing shots and PR shots of him hugging people and going, sorry about your, what happened to your house during the hurricane, but is the camera pointing on me? Are the TV cameras getting me? Look at me, being very sympathetic to the people.
You've no house, you've the clothes on your back, you've no electricity, you're probably struggling at a food shelter to get something to eat, but can I count on your support? Can I get your vote? Exactly.
So it was interesting. It's actually good when you do that, actually, with pre-record, because you talk about things that haven't happened, and when you play it, you can actually go back and go, okay, well, that didn't happen, and, so it's not too bad. Now, just a couple of things. Firebrand sent over a YouTube video, with Ben doing the launch of DDI, and Ben mentioned the OYM on it. So we're just curious to see what Ben had to say, and thanks again to Ben and the people at DDI for giving OYM a plug. We're more than happy to help them out, because we know what he's doing is his heart's in the right place, and all the DDI people, so fair play with them doing that. There's always one person in the crowd, though, that wants to kind of not get the point at all, which was the guy who decided to talk about the website being plagiarised,
The mission statement was
the mission statement was plagiarised. And we're thinking, people here are losing their homes, they don't have enough food on their table, and we're having major austerity, and all this guy is worried about is some bloody plagiarism on the website, some words that are similar. Oh, for God's sake, get a life. I don't know who he was, but get a life. Missing the point completely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably not his fault that he's missing the point. But, I mean, obviously maybe the likes of plagiarism is something that plays a big role in wherever he comes from. Obviously, all the austerity measures in the bank and the IMF, maybe that doesn't bother him too much, because maybe this guy lives in his home and it's all bought and paid for, and he doesn't know a penny. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what do you think, Steve? Do you think we're actually winning? Do you think we're winning the fight?
Well, is it a fight, Alan, or is it kind of a battle of the minds? I mean, how would I put it? I mean, yes, I think we are. It may not look like it, but as I said to you when we were having a bit of a chinwag before we came on, I think that there are certain people in certain positions, i.e. the elite, if you want to call them the elite, the government, the people behind the government, I don't know, but I'm sure they have an agenda, and they'll do everything in their power to get that agenda to the finishing point, or to whatever it is that they want to be, and they will do that. And it may look like at some points some points in time it may look like that the troop movement, the likes of say OYM, TNS, Direct Democracy, anyone else who's out there who are trying to not overthrow what these elites are doing, but maybe make them see the error of their ways and try and correct wrongdoings. Sometimes it may seem as though we're not making any headway at all. But as I said to you, if we just kind of say, yeah, do you know what, they're winning, and we walk away, well then we've lost. But if we just keep chipping away, it may take years. It absolutely may take. It's like when you think about it, a prisoner, someone who's trying to escape from a maximum security prison, and all he has is a 6-foot wall and a spoon. Do you know what I mean? He could just, say, do you know what? What's the point? But he just keeps chipping away, and eventually, as I say, it may take a long time, but even that one person can make a difference to his life.
Well, we know where the target is. The target is 2014. Because that's when the election's going to be coming around again.
Yeah.
And we need to have the DDI people in place as much as we can and get at least some representatives in the Dáil to start breaking the wall down. Now, okay, we have 2012 around the corner, December 21st. I'm not holding my breath for that one, and that's just my own personal opinion. We were told certain things, but, you know, as usual, myself and Steve sit in the fence because there's so many people kind of talk about 2012 and they all disagree with each other and they think their system is right or what they think is going to happen and they'll disagree with other people, and there's even people contradicting themselves, I've noticed on one or two YouTube videos. So, you know, at the end of the day, maybe the 23rd of December, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of December will happen. Maybe, you know, maybe it won't be in December, maybe it will be in March 2013, I don't know, but we're going to sit in the fence with that one. The other thing that we mentioned, obviously, to Lindsay was Project Bluebeam. Now, from a psychological point of view, forget about kind of the alien thing, but from a psychological point of view, I can see them doing that. It's like Independence Day in Battleship, the movie. You know, the whole idea of that. We want to unite the world, so we have to disharmonise the people in a way that they all get together because they see themselves outsiders. I've explained this kind of theory or this kind of process before. And the best way to do it, I mean, Independence Day is a classic. You know, to deharmonise the planet, you need something from outside the planet to deharmonise it. And Karen Rosland talks about the weaponisation of space and the money to be made doing that as well. So there's a lot of kind of economics and psychology involved with that principle. It's not just about aliens, it's about controlling the people and manipulating the crowd. And for people who are sheeple and easily led, that's ideally the solution that they want to implement. If and when it happens, I don't know, but just to be aware of it. You know, it's good to talk about it, as you say. You know, the old advert. Now, for next week, just to let you know what's on next week's show, where we hope to have Harry on, but because Kerry Cassidy wasn't on the show this week, I might try and get her on next week and then put Harry to the week after that. Because I'm sure Kerry has a lot of information before the, you know, December 21st. Anyway, I'd like to get Kerry on and talk about who she spoke to, what she knows, what they're saying, etc., etc. So it'd be good we get her on. So, and I think Harry's time is quite flexible anyway. But just this week on Thursday, November the 22nd, as Steve said earlier in the show, they have they only do solutions, a free workshop and a talk at Ballantyre St John's GAA Club, just opposite Lidl, beside Marley Park, Grange Road. It's a free event. So Vin and Harry doing the job. Well done doing that. But that's it. So that's the plan of attack. Is there anything else going on at the moment? Well, you know, there's an awful lot going on with the press. There's an awful lot going on in the Middle East as well, with Gaza and Israel and everything else that's going on there. Some major stuff. So, you know, if you have any news, by all means, send us an email, let us know what's going on, any links, any information, and we'll report on that. Steve?
Yes, we will. You're on the money there. I agree with everything you say. I was going to mention that as well about the event on the 22nd from 7 to 11. Won't be there myself. In relation to the question that was raised at the DDI launch about the guy and the plagiarism, we just had information come up on the TNS chat there from Mick the Fish. Good evening, Mick. That it basically his question and the whole argument didn't really last long. Obviously, people seeing right through it and just moved past it. And just a little information here. Harry from I'm guessing it's Harry from We the People will be on later in the next couple of minutes with Vin on TNS.
Okay, well, I'll be touching base for Harry about next week, but we have to sort it out. So we'll sort it out either way, but don't forget they have a talk on, so it'll be very interesting. Now, DDI, we'd like everybody to be involved with DDI. As Ben said on the video, they don't have all the answers. They've only just become a party, and they only were registered last week. So they're still new, they're still learning, getting their feet, and they're just learning about the system and the processes that they have to go through. But, you know, I for one, if they have an office in near my locality, here, I'll be more than happy to give some time to help out and to man the office, because that's how much I believe that something has to be done in Ireland. You know, something has to be done. We have to put our foot down and say it's enough. And even to the stage, well, I mean, if politicians, it goes back to the Nuremberg excuse. There's no point these politicians turning around and saying, oh, well, you know, I was just obeying orders. They must have morals. They must have a conscience. So if they do and they didn't act on it, well then I think they should be jailed or something should be done with them. Now I know to some people that might sound severe, but if they know what's going on and their government parties are institutionalised, which we know they are, and they won't say anything because they're worried about their pension, that's self-interest, not working for the people. So, you know, I think something has to be done. What DDI decide to do, hopefully if they get in government, it's up to them. Maybe again that be a referendum. What do? Do we make them walk the plank, or do we let them go but take the pension off them and just give them some, you know, basic pension that, you know, that we'll all give them a state pension maybe that we'll all get, hopefully, if there's money left in the coffers and the world is still here. But there's so many things going on at the moment. Yeah, they have Firebrand, they have an office in Trim, a little bit too far from me at the moment. I needed a little bit nearer to where I am, bit more up north, and then I'll be, as in, you know, around the Meath area, and I'll be happy to help out. But I will be contacting Ben and asking Ben if he has an office in the locality, and if he does, I will be putting my name forward to do that.
Sorry, I'm just having a laugh. This is not a criticism. Hello?
Yeah,
This is not a criticism,
I can hear
okay?
you. I've got headphones on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you said if they have an office that's near me, I'll be there to help.
Yeah.
Trim. It's not a million miles away.
Yeah, but it costs petrol. And when you don't have the money for the petrol, it's further than you think.
You've got legs, haven't you?
Oh yeah, right, okay.
A bit of a walk though.
Yeah, I think
but no,
so.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, if they did have an office fairly locally, I don't know what's involved in setting up an office. I mean, do you just kind of find a room in a local tavern or something, or there's a community centre, or does it have to be like a dedicated office in the main street somewhere? God only knows. I'm sure we can find out. But yeah, if they had one, kind of more local to us, I'm sure the fact that it would be manned and probably filled and run by like-minded people, you know, that would be kind of on the same wavelength, if you like. I'm sure we would probably spend a lot of evenings there.
Well, the whole idea is that I would give up, you know, I have a little bit of time which I'd give up to them, but travelling up and down obviously costs money, and so at the end of the day, if it was a bit closer to where I am, it'd be actually better from a financial point of view. That's why I say Trim, you know, is a little bit too far from the travelling point of view. Because the price of diesel, the price of petrol, we all know it's expensive, and you need to, you know, reduce your costs. And if there's an office in the local area where I am, you know, I could double up and get other things done as well, which a lot of people are doing now. When they go and do a journey, they're saying, what else can I do when I go down to here?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you have to.
Yeah. It's not just you, and it's not just me. There's a lot of other people that I know as well, and the same scenario. They're kind of not making unnecessary trips, and even if it's a trip to the local shop, say to do a big, you know, well, not a big, but you know, for your weekly grocery shopping, they're kind of saying, well, what else will I do while I'm there? And
exactly,
it's just the way it is.
You have to do it, and I mean, everybody's suffering, so there's no point saying people aren't suffering. Everybody's suffering, and you have to do that. You have to look at the petrol prices, and prices are only going to go back up. So we just have to be aware of that. But I just hope people will go out, and even if you give an hour of your time or 2 hours of your time just to DDI to try and get their feet on the ground, just to help them out, get them started. Even if they produce flyers, I'll be happy to put some flyers out and start educating people in the local area about DDI and what they are and what they're doing and what they're trying to do. Because we have till 2014. That's when the next election. And as Steve said earlier, you know, it's the same wheel, just the rat changes.
That's it. There is. There's a wheel in the cage, if you like, and it's the same rats that are in the same cage. Well, I think with DDI, we're introducing... Oh, Jesus, I was going to say we're introducing a new rat into the cage. That's not what... No, That's not what I mean to
You're
say.
getting rid of the rats. And
We're
the
getting
cage.
rid of the rats and the cage. We're reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, because they are a political service, not a political party. And that's the difference, they're out to serve the people. But listen, guys and girls, it's that time of the night, so we're going to have to finish up. So, listen, stay safe. The weather's getting bad, the roads are getting icy, and bad rain tonight. So, take it easy, stay safe, and just keep an eye out on things. If you've any news, let us know. For myself, Alan James, good night.
Okay. And for myself, Stephen George, very good evening as well. We'll do it all again next week. Hopefully. Take care. Bye-bye.